Positively Petland Show, AM 800, KXIC, and kxic.com. Place where you can check out the podcast of this show. Go back, listen to old shows. What I would recommend is if you own a dog, it's likely that we talked about your breed at some point. So if you want to know about it, you just go search, look through the podcast, and you can hear more about your specific breed, your loved one in your family there. So if you have a golden retriever, I know we talked about them. If you have a German Shepherd, whatever your breed is in your home, just go check out our podcast page and find that show, and you can listen in and hear more about it. We run through our breed of the week. We have that every week. We have our amazing pet story of the week. We talk about different topics, training, and other useful tips, things to get you ready for your adventure of being a pet owner. We bring in Ron Solzer, who's joining us from Petland of Iowa City. How are things, Ron?
Very, very good.
Good to hear.
Upbeat.
I don't think you've ever started the show by saying just horrible, Jay. Just horrible. Things are just terrible.
My dad.
You're a half full guy. That's good. Glass half full.
Oh, there's my son, who just started engineering this year, has an engineering joke on that. It's something about is it half full, half empty? The engineer would say we need to re-engineer that cup so that it's smaller or something like that, and it was better than that. That was an engineer telling an engineer joke. That is classic right there.
Ron Solzer performing at Penguins Comedy Club this upcoming Saturday night. It's all right. I got the point. I kind of know where you were going with that.
And that is how my brain works. My wife
analytical for jokes.
You're right.
To break it down.
I have to describe it for whatever reason, and it just never works. And so I don't do jokes well.
Well, it's good that things are going well at the store. I'm glad to hear it. It sounds like you guys are busier than ever, which is good. And you guys are also, one of the things that you do is you work with customers, and you work with to make sure that they are educated and that you meet the needs of both the customer and the pet, and make sure that the family is prepared for that pet. And so we will talk more about that with some topic in upcoming shows. We'll continue to talk about training and to make sure that you are prepared and ready to go when you take that pet home. And so we'll talk about that. We're also going to talk about something that apparently people on the internet have been seeing, and I was unaware of this, but Pomskys, that's our breed of the week. It's a Pomeranian and a Husky mixed together.
Yeah, when you get a chance on your computer there, and then you can do this at home as well, or at work.
Just don't get caught by your boss.
Is type in Pomsky, go to images, and here we're going to do this. Jay is doing it right now. Yeah. I think the first image that will come up is the there you go. Yeah, you'll see the Pomskys.
So horrible.
Now I haven't searched it for a while. There are additional Pomsky pictures. There was one for years, and it just would show up, and everybody goes, "We want this one right here."
Yeah,
and I'm going to tell you,
Husky.
Yes, but I'm going to say, caution to the viewers: you're looking at a very rare event, in that when you see those pictures and they're the tiny little Huskies like that doesn't occur frequently in the litters. In fact, I have, I've reviewed probably 5 different litters, and I have yet to see that.
It's adorable.
And so it's something that, the Pomskys are just cute, or as cute anyways, but you'll see a lot of color variations because the Pomeranian color, for whatever reason, tends to be the dominant in that. The little Pomeranian color is more dominant than the Husky color gene.
Interesting.
And so you see a lot more solid colors on the Pomskys than that Husky look that you see on the internet.
And when we were previewing this show on my morning show, I was also just kind of letting my mind wander for a minute, and I'm picturing a fairly large Husky dog and a Pomeranian, and nature doesn't seem to want to make that one work. I was just kind of thinking that how is that happening? But you're saying it's AI, right? It's
artificial insemination.
Yeah, it's not something that's naturally happening out there.
No, I always joke with, in these situations with the breeder, I go, so did they need a ladder to get this done? How did that happen?
So some of those, that just doesn't seem like something that would happen naturally.
Right. So the husky in this case would be the female. That would be, how it is delivered.
Okay.
And stuff.
Which makes sense because it's larger.
Yeah, if you didn't know the breeding side of things, when you see the tiny little Yorkie, what happens there is if you had that tiny of a female, they wouldn't give birth very well because it's such a tiny little frame.
Yeah.
And so the mom tends to be on the little larger side. And then the dad is what they typically get the smallest that they can. And even on those, when we talk about those really tiny breeds within a breed, so a lot of people will call them toys.
Mm-hmm.
That's a classification within kxic, which means something a little different than what we're talking about here. But when they're trying to really downsize things, I always say, it's not necessarily the best thing. It's a toy breed, but if you go too small, we used to call those runts, and now we have other names for them. Realize that the smaller you go, with it outside of that range, that average range for that breed tends to be a little less healthy as a result. So those Paris Hilton type puppies and dogs that that we see on TV and stuff, they never talk about the care that needs to be added to it because they sometimes have some medical issues.
Yeah.
And they also don't talk about the short lifespan of those dogs.
Yeah, and that's actually kind of unfortunate. And it's just I guess just probably natural that pop culture and popularity of certain things leads the way sometimes. But people see something and then they decide they want it, and when it's not always the best move. And I know that's one of the things. And this happens very often, according to you, when people come into the store, they say, I want this dog. I saw it on TV. And by the time they leave, they have a new dog, but it's not the one that came in there.
70% of the time, they find something they like even more. The classic story that I talk about with my employees is when Wendy and I bought that store 10 years ago, the first puppy that I sent home, I was learning, all this stuff. I was nervous and all that. And customer walks in and it was a younger couple, upper 20s, married, have a house, a yard, fence, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh wow, this is a wonderful family. They got it all figured out, And they were just crazy about the Yorkie. Oh my gosh, we're in here to get a Yorkie. We're ready. We've decided it's fun. It's the way to go and all that. And I'm like, well, let me get a Yorkie out for you. And so I get the Yorkie out and they're just crazy over the top about Yorkies. And so tell me, what do you want to do with this Yorkie? Why are you so excited? Oh, we cannot wait to go run and play ball and all that stuff with our new little Yorkie at home. And I'm just thinking, wait, go running with a Yorkie? I'm not following you on that one, kind of thing. So I said, hey, okay, how long do you guys run? A minimum of 3 miles. We kind of do the 5-mile range kind of thing. I go, the Yorkie is going to go for about a block, and then it's going to get tired, and then you're going to have to pick it up and walk and run with it. Is that kind of what you're thinking? And they're going, no, we never thought of that. I go, yeah, this dog is so small that it can't keep up with you. Oh, kind of squash their dreams. I go, but I do have an idea for you. So you're looking for a more athletic dog, more run, and all that kind of stuff. Tell me about your, where you live and all that. And so we went through that, and like what I just said.
Mm-hmm.
Came out with a Labrador Retriever. Do you know how excited they were about a Labrador Retriever?
To start?
Yeah, just
not excited or
incorrect. They were just as excited about that Labrador Retriever as they were with the Yorkie. They just wanted a dog.
Yeah.
That was that met their needs. We can get a Labrador Retriever? Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about it. And so that's what we're there for, is matching the right pet with the right family and meeting the needs of both. That Labrador Retriever loves to run with that family, and stay active and everything. So that's what we're all about. And we find about 70% of the time when people come in looking for one breed, they walk out with a totally different breed that better meets their needs. They more are in love with it, and they're all about it just as much as they were the original breed.
That's interesting. That's Ron Salzer. He's with Petland of Iowa City. and he is here to talk about what's happening in the pet industry. We always get updates. He's always off at trade shows and different things, which is always fun to hear about that, and bringing you tips too. So we're gonna have the Breathe of the Week coming up in the second part of the show, but we need to bring in Big Voice Guy first. Big Voice Guy.
He's got quite the positive attitude today.
Yeah, just in and out. He's
nothing. He's chipper. He had like a skip in his step. I love that.
All right.
Love to see more of that.
Yeah, we could use more positivity out of you, Big Voice Guy. All right, so thanks to Big Voice Guy for bringing us that intro. A hero family dog saves the life of a little girl in a house fire by lying on top of her and refusing to move, preventing fatal burns. The dog being credited with saving the life of a young girl who was trapped in a deadly house fire. 8-month-old Viviana Claire was inside of her house in Baltimore when her mother stepped outside for a minute, looked back. The house was engulfed in flames. She heard her daughter crying and couldn't get to her. Just a horrific scene, if you can imagine. And the dog, family dog, Polo, was lying on top of the girl, protecting her with his body. And the dog is credited with saving her life. And the dog did make it, and so did the little girl. But they credit the dog for helping to save her life. So again, another amazing story where the dog senses something wrong and get that real protective nature, which it's amazing how dogs do that. They just put their own life at risk sometimes for people, and that bond between people and dogs is such a strong thing. And we will often talk about that with the Amazing Pet Story of the Week. And there you go. That's Amazing Pet Story of the Week. When we come back, we'll talk about the Pomsky, and we'll also talk about what else is happening with Petland of Iowa City. Stay tuned. All right, do a promo here.
Sure.
A lot of people here.
Yeah, they're like loving me right now because I'll be
up all day.
Right. I'll be done here. Well, yeah, we're streaming, so that's gonna go too.
Ready to go?
Yeah, it'll come up here.
All right, in 3, 2, 1. 800 kxic with Ron Salzberg from Petland of Iowa City. What are we going to talk about this week, Ron?
The elusive Pomsky. Check that one out on the internet. You're going to go holy crazy.
That's fine. In 3, 2, 1. 800 kxic morning host JK with Ron Salzberg from Petland of Iowa City. What are we going to talk about this week, Ron?
We are going to talk about the elusive Pomsky. Check that one out on the internet. You're going to go crazy on this one. We've got one in the store right now.
Pomsky.
We're going to talk about dog supplies. What are the basic things you need for your dog? I need you to listen to this because most people don't know all the basics that they need. And then we're going to talk about Blue Buffalo, that dog food. Hey, is that the right food for your dog?
It's the Positively Petland Show, Sunday mornings at 9 and at kxic.com. Great job. So we got a Yoda in there for a second. You went, Good. That's funny. All right, in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back. It's the Positively Petland Show, 800 kxic. Coming up, we're talking about the Pomsky. We'll find out what that's about. It's a breed of the week. It's kind of 2 breeds, so we'll talk about both. And we'll talk about supplies, dog pet supplies that you should have. The basics. We're talking basics here, plus Blue Buffalo. That's all coming up in this segment. We welcome back Ron Salzberg from Petland of Iowa City. Ron, the Pomsky, Pomeranian, Husky. Which one do you want to talk about first?
We're going to lead off with the Husky. We're just going to go through brief. In future episodes, we'll hit the Husky and the Pomeranian by themselves.
Okay.
So just the history of the Husky. I love this one. The Siberian Husky was created by the kxic people of northeastern what continent?
Europe.
Asia.
Asia, okay.
There was like a pause there. All right. The kxics lives dependent on a sled dog capable of traveling great distances at moderate speeds, carrying a light load in low temperatures with a minimum expenditure of energy. That is a crazy great description of a husky. I did see a documentary of Russia way up north, and they showed at the end of it, they were coming back from winter camp, and this is rustic, old nature stuff. They're coming back from the winter camp, coming to their summer camp to bring all of the trappings that they got for the winter. That dog started running with the guy was on the snowmobile. The dog didn't even want to get on the snowmobile. It just started running alongside it. It then just kind of went through the day and everything. At night, it was now getting dark. The dog was still running. And he goes, yeah, we have moderate, breaks here and there just to eat and drink. He goes, but that dog loves to run. So Siberian Huskies are definitely that athletic dog, loves to get out, loves to, be with that athletic family, walking, running, throwing the ball around kind of a thing. But really cool history of that. Now, okay, is that maybe a little too much on that side for you? So now let's mix the Husky with the Pomeranian. So a little bit of the background or the history of the Pomeranian. In the Baltic region, there once existed a province called
Pomerania.
There we go. That was bordered by
I don't know.
Germany.
Okay.
And on one side, and what's the other country on the other side? Just pick one of those.
France.
Other side, Poland.
Oh, okay, East. Yeah. Okay.
Poland on the other. Although Spitz-type dogs were prevalent throughout the northern countryside of this territory, a specific smaller perky dog of this type was being called the Pomeranian. And back then, if we went back and did more history on it, they were 20 plus pounds back then, and I've even read where they were up to 40 pounds. So these little Pomeranians were much bigger back then. It only has been, and I think if I pull it up here, I believe it's within the last 100 years, they downsized them. So how do they do that? They take a smaller dog and put it into the mix and then bring them back to the Pomeranian. And they do that for multiple generations. And that's what downsizes a dog in a healthy way. You're taking two really healthy dogs that are healthy in their own size, bringing them together, and then that's what brings them down. So that's the history of the Pomeranian. Now, when you mix those two together, like we said, that's going to be through artificial insemination. They don't get ladders out or anything. The Husky is the female in that case because of birthing issues and reasons and all that kind of stuff. And so now you get what's called the Pomsky. And on the internet, the Pomsky is, to me, a little bit of a folklore. You'll see a lot of really pretty pictures of real miniature-looking Huskies on there, especially because they're also taking a lot of pictures of the puppies. So you're going to see them extra small on the internet. Know that they're going to grow. They're not going to be a 7. This is going to be in between the Husky. Oh gosh, off the top of my head, I'm going to say somewhere in that 50-ish pounds, 60 pounds. Pomeranian down in the 6 pounds. And so I always say when you got that mixture, you're really not quite sure where it's going to go, because we do a purebred with a purebred. That's to get some consistency going. But the weight is going to be somewhere in between. You can have a big Pomsky and you can have a smaller Pomsky kind of a thing when you do those kind of mixes. And so the average would be smack in the middle. So you're going to be in that 25, 30 pounds range for a dog. So it's a nice medium-sized dog. What we're seeing and what I've noticed with the litters that I've reviewed in the past, they're bushy, fluffy little things. The Pomeranian, for its size, has a much longer hair for its size. So it's not quite like that on a Pomsky, or gosh, that fur would be like a half a foot long, kind of a thing, and it would be puffed out. That's not the case on a Pomsky. It does have that a bushy, bare look to it. It's double coated, and if there was such thing as a triple or a quad coated, that it really is beefed up as far as the coat goes. You'll see colors everywhere from blacks to merles. Very, very occasionally you're going to see it look like a Husky, but you will see some different colors on paws and around the facial area and other areas of the dog. What we have in the store right now is of black, different colored paws. Like every paw is almost a different color in itself. So you get a mixture all the way through there. They are a shedding dog, so you are going to see the coat, lose hair. On average, it would be twice a year that you're going to have that coat blow. But in the house, they really don't ever get rid of the coat, because out in the wild, they'd be rubbing against a lot of trees and stuff like that, be more active, and they lose their coat that way. And that's why when you see those shows on nature and all that kind of stuff, you're like, they're patchy color. The fur is patchy. That's because they're rubbing and getting it off. In the house, we tend to not have that, so they tend to just keep it and then slowly lose it, and then we call that a shedding dog. And a lot of people will go, my dog sheds all year round. And what's happening is it has that twice a year shed, but it never comes off, so it just accumulates. My cats do the same thing. My cat, I have to use the Furminator to get it out. And guess what's going to help you with the Pomsky?
The Furminator.
And so that is one key with the Pomsky is you're going to get that shed as well with this dog. And using a Furminator or something like that to thin that loose hair from under coats are going to go a very, very long way to helping you reduce the shed within your house.
Yeah, that's one of the first things I thought of when I thought about a Pomeranian and a Husky together. I thought fur.
Double shed.
Yeah, that's a lot of fur there, but good deal. It's a cute puppy, and I'm sure it's going to be find a happy home from Petland of Iowa City. So as we move along here today, talk about what you would need for that Pomsky or whatever dog you have there.
So talk with customers a lot about supplies, and some questions that I ask my customers. You always say, everybody goes, how's potty training going? And what's the reply? Oh, it's going good, kind of a thing. I always like to ask the question, how often does your dog have an accident within the house? And I am just shocked on how many times I hear, once a week, a couple times a month, that kind of a cadence of accidents. And I go, here, I'm going to show you a couple of quick things that you can do to reduce that amount even further than where you're at. Continue to do these, and you will continue to see improvement even better than what you're seeing. But they were complacent where they were. They would have said, life is beautiful, and have gone through it. Or choose. I'll ask people, hey, is your dog destructive in any way in the house? Because if I would have said, how is the chewing with your dog? They would have said, oh, yeah, it's a dog, kind of a thing. If I ask them, have they been destructive in the house at all? I'm going to hear about the recent leg on the, kitchen chair that got chewed apart, the end of the rug that just ruined, and now we got to, we're looking at replacing the carpeting, but we don't know if we're going to do that because we have this dog that chews, and isn't going to just chew the new carpeting up. All these things that I keep on hearing, and I go, hey, it can get a lot better than that with the dog that you have right now, whether it is a puppy or a senior. You can teach those old dogs new tricks and help them through these things so that they are working better with you. And I always say, when you get them to that next level, guaranteed you're going to love that dog even more. And you're going, Ron, there's no way I can love my dog even now and more than what I love him right now. I'm telling you, you will. I had our little Susie, what we call affectionately the trouble child. She was quiet as a mouse for the first 6 months. Oh, I love this dog. This is so cool. And then at 6 months, all of a sudden, Susie found her voice, and she was that incessant barker. Now, that was something that happened actually within our house, and it was my kids and, playing, and he kind of, the kids were taunting her to bark. And then she said, well, I like to bark, and so you guys like it when I bark because you play with me even more when I bark. I get it. You trained me. I bark, kind of thing. And then I get home and I go, oh, God, are you kidding me? When we taught Susie to not bark, turn that around. And it took a little while because you can get it going really quick, but it's tough to turn it around. Gosh, when I got her to quiet down, I am telling you, I loved Susie so much more. And so realize that there are things out there that probably are mild irritants to you with your dog, and we all have them a minute, kind of a thing. And if you got rid of those or you helped improve those a little bit, you're going to love that dog even more. So the first tool that I say you need for your dog, and this is the most important tool to go home with your dog with short-term and long-term, is a crib.
A crib.
A crib. You need a crib for the dog. All right, what am I talking about? You know what do we do with our babies when they are, tired? We put them in the crib. What do we do with our babies when we need to make sure they're safe? We'll put them in the crib or a playpen. What do we do with our babies when they might need a timeout because they're overly tired? They just got to cry themselves to bed, whatever it is. We put them in the crib or the playpen. If we got babies that are a little older, that have grown out of the crib and all the playpens, where do we put them? We put them in the room in that case. So what am I talking about? Get your dog a crib. I'm telling you, the kennel is a crib for your dog. It serves all of those purposes for your dog. We go, oh, it's a cage. I get where you're coming from on that. Just look at it as a crib, just as you would a crib for a baby, a crib for your dog. It has a top on it for sure, because they jump and they'll jump out. All the parents out there know, as soon as the child can crawl out of the crib, you have just lost the use of the crib. Now you gotta go to the room, and now you use the room as you used the crib before. So get a kennel, because you're going to do your potty training with that kennel. We're going to cover that in future episodes. You're going to do a timeout with that. People will tell you that don't use the kennel for that purpose because you'll get them to hate it. I go, well, to those parents out there, when you gave your child a timeout and they had to go to their room, does your child hate that room now? No, child loves the room. They understand what was going on, and your dog will too understand that was a timeout, because when the doorbell rings and they start barking your dog up, you just encourage the barking. But if the doorbell rings, the dog barks, you answer it really quickly and say, hey, hold on for a second. Now turn around, because you got a child that was doing some wrong things in your hand, called the puppy or the dog. Now go give them a timeout in the kennel. And so you close the door on the kennel. I'm talking 10 minutes. And what are they thinking? Oh, I barked. And they got to see the pattern. So they got to see this over time. I barked. They put me in the kennel. I don't get to meet this new person that I really want to lick. Oh, what do I do? I can't bark anymore because I want to get over there and give kisses to this new person that just walked in the door. So another use for the kennel. Safety-wise, let's say you do have that destructive dog, or you have a little puppy that will get into things. When you have to do the dishes, and again, parents out there, when you're doing the dishes and you've got that infant that can now crawl, are you going to turn your back on that infant? Absolutely not, because that infant will crawl to the stairs, they'll crawl to the cabinets and get into maybe some hazardous stuff. We put latches and stuff on our cabinets as a result. They'll get into trouble. So you can use the kennel in the same way to keep the dog safe. You can even use it when you introduce that new little dog, or maybe it's the shelter dog, to the dog that's already in your home. When you can't supervise the play, I always say put the new little one in your life, whether it's a shelter dog or a new puppy or whatever, in the kennel, and let the other dog have its freedom the way you would normally do it. So if you're letting them out. So another use for the kennel is that keeping that introduction period, which takes about 2 weeks total, keeping them safe and parenting them in this case, keeping them so then they're not going to fight or anything like that. Normally with dogs, it's pretty easy. Those people that have cats at home, use that kennel in this way, and you're going to have a much easier blending of those two together, because some cats get pretty upset about that new little thing or that shelter dog coming into your house. So kennels are great. So now, next thing, and you're going, Ron, what are you talking about? I already know about treats, man. If my dog has one thing, it's a lot of treats. So I just want to bring it up. Treats are hugely critical to new dogs, to old dogs. All I want to point out here, and we're going to talk about treat training in the future again, going into it in more detail, is make sure if you're trying to, and what treats are always good for is encouraging behavior. Make sure you give the treat to your dog, or cat for that matter, when they're doing immediately something you want them to continue to do. So treat training for potty training. When they're doing their business outside, don't wait to give them the treat until they come back inside, because they think coming back inside is why they're getting the treat. If you give it to them right when they're doing their little doo-doo or little pee-pee, you want to do it while they're still doing it. Give them the treat, give it right into their nose. They might have the coordination to do both at the same time, but they'll smell it and they'll go, ooh, I like what I see and smell, and ooh, I'll eat that right after they're done. You're now telling them, I like what you're doing right now, how you're doing it. So you're pottying outside in this section of the lawn, and that's what I want. So the treat is with them right then. If they do their business in the house, they get no treat. And what they're going to find out is, and this is how treat training works, wait, I'm going to hold it because I want that treat, kind of a thing. And they're going to say, I'm going to hold it as long as I can, and then I'm going to wait for that treat and want that treat when I go outside. So be consistent with treat training. Do it every single time to establish patterns, and be consistent so the right pattern gets established. How much time do we got left?
I was thinking this might be a two-part show. Basics, if we can maybe go back next week to touch on what you talked about, and then maybe go to the next ones, because I'm sure there's some more basics.
I got more to go through.
Yeah, so why don't we we'll stop here, we'll get the blue buffalo, and then we'll
call it a day.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. So going to blue buffalo, which a lot of people know about blue buffalo because they do an excellent job of marketing. But they combine that marketing with backing it up with the real deal. And I like blue buffalo. I love marketing. That is a passion of mine. So I like that aspect of it. But there's too many times when people market something, like there are some other dog foods on the TV that you can go get at the grocery market. They market really, really, really well. They make you think it has everything in it. And sometimes, okay, it does have everything in it, but the levels are so low, it's not going to do anything. So those grocery market brands and the big box store brands that are out there, they market really good, but they don't back it up with a good quality product. And we're talking dog food and cat food here. Blue Buffalo is different. They do the marketing, and I love their checklist thing that they say, take the quiz or the test, and I want higher amounts of this and better quality of that, and then, lo and behold, Blue Buffalo meets the deal. I'm going to talk about here what a third-party reviewer says exactly the same thing about Blue Buffalo, that it's a really good dog food. Where if you look at your Purinas and other brands like that you get at the grocery market, even Rachel Ray, I was all bummed out when hers just did not get the reviews you wanted it to have. It's a grocery market brand, and I like Rachel Ray. I think it's fun watching her show and all that kind of stuff. She's a really bubbly, fun lady, but they marketed it that way and they developed the product that way. So it's a lower quality food as a result. Blue Buffalo gets a 4 out of 5 star rating from Dog Food Advisor. That's a really good place to go if you're just looking at, I want just an even review of all dog foods. I will say Dog Food Advisor goes into some good detail. They definitely don't go into all the particulars, but they have a nice overview and really good valid points that they bring out and all that kind of a thing. So they love Blue Buffalo. The whole 4 out of 5 stars. They have a protein rating of 27. That's a little higher than average, which is a nice thing if you're trying to keep the weight on your dog. 27% protein is really good. 16% fat, which is also above average, is really good as well. Let's get to their ingredient list. Here it is. Starts with deboned chicken, then goes to chicken meal, and then after 2 ingredients goes to brown rice. Brown rice is nothing to squawk at. That's a very digestible grain for the dog, so that's a good one. But let's go back to the deboned chicken and chicken meal. Top 2 ingredients are meat, and so that's what we like to see for a dog. Deboned chicken is just trying to tell you that it's before it's cooked. It's trying to give us a sense of, ooh, that's a good fresh quality meat, which it is. It's before it's cooked, but realize after they cook it, it loses, what is it? I did the calculation, but it loses somewhere around 60 because it's moisture and it goes away, just like when you cook meat in the frying pan. So that goes way back down in the list as a result, as far as when you actually are feeding it to your dog. Chicken meal is second. That is cooked. It's like saying deboned chicken cooked. Chicken meal is really good in that it's high in the ingredient list and it's already cooked, so it's going to stay up there as a high ingredient. So that's all good. When you go to their website, the biggest thing that they talk about for their product, and they were one of the first ones to really combine these two products, is the exclusive life source bits. And what's the bottom line on that? It is a nutritious little chunk that's included in the kibble. The kibble is cooked, so at the high temperature and all that kind of stuff. And there is the theories, and we have this for our own food as well, when you cook it, you lose some of the nutrients. So they have some lower cooked temperature life bits that are they're not crunchy anymore, they're more chewy. And they're going to have more of the nutrition that you would get if you didn't cook it all the way. So I think you kind of get what I'm talking about there. So they're saying, hey, these are life source bits because it has more nutrients, oxidants, things like that are preserved because it is what they call cold formed, and it's not cooked out. So I've been doing that myself. I have modified my diet, personal diet, in so many different ways because what I see in dog food. And it's funny because I'll eat freeze-dried stuff now because, oh, it's less cooked and oxidants are in there and all that kind of stuff. I take supplements because, no, I haven't eaten dog food. I think that was when I was a little kid or something. You got to try it then.
So Blue Buffalo is the featured food. That sounds like a good one.
Yep, like we sell a ton of this stuff. People come in and just buy it. And remember, all of our dog food and cat food is on a buy 10, get one free over time, including Blue Buffalo. Taste of the Wild right now is just smoking it. I don't know how they do it because they do little marketing at all. They're the opposite of Blue Buffalo, but they have a really good quality product, and the word of mouth is really out there.
People like it though, huh? All right, well, consider that. Consider those dog foods and go and talk to the experts at Petland of Iowa City, and they'll get you set up. That's Ron Salzard. I'm Jay Caper. This has been the Positive Petland Show, part 2 of the basics. What you need for your dog. Coming up next week on the show. We'll be right back with more after this. Check out the podcast at kxic.com.
Are we done?
Yeah. Good show.